Kings, queens, and in-betweens, welcome back to another episode of City Boys. My name is Jacob, one of your hosts this evening, and I am joined by Ethan. How are we doing today, Ethan?
It is another day in paradise, Kings, Queens, and in-betweens. It is your man in the corner with a new sweater, or scarf, excuse me, and a sweater. Big shout out to the soccer zombie. I'm very happy to be here. Grayson, how are you doing, boss?
Ooh, I'm feeling good, guys. If you can tell, I'm in a new space. This is going to be my new little office area where I'm going to be recording my episodes from now on. So get used to it. I've got one little poster right here. And sadly, the second biggest face on there is Tim Parker. More on that in just a second. Other than that, I'm feeling really good, boys. Pretty decent week for STL. The excitement is building. Excitement's building. We had a good game against FC Juarez this week. Shall we take a peek? Shall we get into it? I've got some pregame news, guys. So, of course, like I just mentioned, Tim Parker, El Capitan, the Ginger Stallion, the bullet with a mullet, Timmy P, has been traded to the New England Revolution. It's brutal, honestly. I mean, we all talked about it. We talked about it on the episode. We should have seen this coming.
We did.
And as soon as it hits, it still got me by shock. But yeah, it was a trade. So we did get a little something back. $600K, Timmy Parker. We got Henry Kessler, 26-year-old center back from the New England Revolution. He's an MLS vet. He's been around the league for quite some time. And Lutz has been a long-term admirer of him. Since he joined the club, he had his eyes set on him, and he saw his chance to get something for him. It was reported Lutz did say that the reasoning for this was contract talks with Tim Parker did come to a halt. They couldn't agree on, salary, how long contracts were gonna be, albeit he's getting up there in age. And of course, Timmy Parker, he's an MLS vet. He needs the bag. He's getting up there. So congrats to him for getting his move to New England. Wish him all the best. And thanks for everything you did to the city. Scoring our first goal for St. Louis City. Come on.
Massive.
Come
Definitely
on.
a huge part of making our club so big. He's an icon for the city. I know that he's from the New York area, so it is great to see him moving closer to home. Hopefully he can remain there. I know he just recently had a child, so it's sad to see him go, even though we did discuss potentially letting him leave at the end of his contract. It did just feel a bit unceremonious to let him leave mid-season, no?
Yeah, and only a couple of days after he had played in City Red for what none of us knew was going to be his last game. My initial thoughts on the trade, it stung, obviously, didn't want to see him go. But then with the more and more highlights that I've seen of Kessler coming through and definitely the excitement around him, I'm excited to see what potentially our new Lieutenant General is going to give us on the field.
We did, however, make another transfer move. Ethan, you want to give me a little information about the guy?
Yes, sir. I would be glad to. Our man Giannis Horn has signed on loan from FC Nuremberg. To make this happen, we actually acquired an international roster spot from Philadelphia for $75,000. He is also on an option to sign through 2026 should we decide to exercise that option. A little about Giannis Horn. He's a left-sided defender, mostly a left back, can play center back, but that's mostly where he was deployed in Germany. We know that he's big on his fitness, despite it being the off season. He's remained well in the gym over the summer. Other than that, he's not a player that we know too much about. I know from doing research online that he is willing to get up in the attack and a decent one-on-one defender. So I'm hoping that he can bring the experience that Jaden Reed is kind of lacking in the second half of this season. Although I'm really interested, we are still not beating the Germany FC allegations. Jacob, what did you think of the signing?
I think it's great. Listening to the pre-match presser that STL gave, they really see him as a left back, but what interested me the most coming from that was that in a 3-back scenario or a 5-back scenario, he's a perfect fit for that left center back role, which has me thinking that we might be moving towards more of a system where we do deploy 3 center backs. And yeah, I don't know much about him. He did have some highlights that I watched. He looks like a solid defender, but definitely going to have my eyes on him when he does suit up for the team. Grayson, what are your thoughts?
Uh, I'm just excited to see some new defenders coming into the squad. Hopefully it can refresh the back line. Hopefully it'll, light a fire under a couple of guys that are fighting for their spots and trying to compete for that starting lineup. So, I don't know, it looked pretty good this week, especially with this lineup that we threw out. It seems to me that we're using this tournament a little bit to give the lower guys some minutes.
In addition to this team news, we also had some City Boys news come out. Roll the clip, Grayson. Yeah, that's right. We dropped merch, baby. The 3 of us are wearing our hoodies. We've also got a hat, a couple shirts. The link is going to be in the description. If you're catching this clip on Instagram, link is in the bio. Go check it out. Super cheap, but very, very high quality. Wanted to make it as cheap as possible for you guys to get in on it. Anybody who reps the brand would be greatly appreciated. But yeah, we've got the Juarez game coming up. We did find out on Wednesday that this is not necessarily a must-win game. Since Juarez did beat FC Dallas, we were automatically put through. So this was a game in which we were just fighting for seeding. And it was a very, very contentious match. Ethan, can you tell us what our lineup was?
I would be glad to, and especially with the additions of our new players, it's going to be an interesting lineups going forward. So definitely something to keep your eye on. Starting off strong in between the sticks, Ben Lundt gets the start in net tonight. Last night. I was shocked, but he played well. Going from left to right in the defense, we have Akil Watt starting at left back, the Canuck truck, Kyle Hebert back in the center back spot, Josh Yarrow making his return to the starting 11, and a rare start this season for Jake Nerwinski at the right back spot. We did go out in a 4-2-3-1 once again this match with Chris Durkin and Edu Lovin sitting in the very strong pivot roles in the number 6. Again, from left to right for our attacking mids this time, we have Marcel Hartel lining up on the left side. We had Cedric Toykert playing in the false 9 role, and Indiana Vasilev making his return to the starting 11 after experiencing a little bit of injury. And of course, the new target man, Simon Betcher, starting up top, put in 86 fantastic minutes for the side and got to open up his goal scoring account. We also had some important substitutions in this match. Thoresen came on for Indiana Vasilev in the 79th minute. Jake Erwood Reich entered for Edu Levin in the 80th minute. Interesting note, the armband went to Josh Yarrow, the most senior player on the team after Levin came off. Johnny Klein entered for Simon Betcher in the 86th minute, and then Jay Reed comes on for Akil Watts to solidify that defense in the 87th minute. Grayson, what did you make of this lineup?
Yeah, like I was just mentioning earlier, it is a little bit of a makeshift defense. I'm going to be using that word a lot tonight. And by makeshift, I wouldn't even say it's like thrown together. Of course, these are our like 2 backup center backs, of course, behind Tim Parker and Joachim Nilsson. Our 2 next guys up are Kyle Hebert and Josh Yarrow, and they played really well for us tonight. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in my point. But the defense is really where we saw a lot of the change, especially with Ben Lundt in goal. That's a little bit of a different personality on the field, leading the team from the back. But the offense, the exciting offense, stays the same, except for, of course, adding our spark plug, Indiana Vasilev, a little Batman cosplay out there on the pitch. But it was good to have him back. He didn't look his best. Of course, he's been out for quite a while. And like we mentioned, Thor continues to steadily grow on us. He had a decent game, and we're going to talk a little bit more about him later too. But those are just a couple thoughts on of mine on the lineup for this week.
Yeah, I thought this lineup performed pretty well overall. I did have some notes. I didn't necessarily see a comfortable Hartel out there. I think he really wants to operate as a number 10. Where that puts Toykert, or if we do have two number 10s going forward, I don't know. Not my decision to make. That's just what I saw. Having him drop back at times to even receive the ball was definitely weird for me, especially because he's supposed to be the one giving us width. And Akil Watts's play definitely made up for it. I thought Akil Watts had himself a fantastic performance, both bombing forward and in his 1v1 defense with those very, very dynamic Juarez wingers that we had our hands full all night. I thought the boys did really, really well. Our substitutions played a key role at the end of this match, and we're going to talk about that as we cover the end of this match. Ethan, you've got the beginning of this match. What happened?
Let's get into these first 30 minutes. And it really kicks off in the 8th minute with a nasty, nasty through ball from Edu Lovin. Perfectly weighted, but Toykert just puts it into the outside of the net. It was a good chance, tough angle though. Moving on, Ben Lundt in the 15th minute comes up huge with a big save. He parries it well to the side, and I mention that because it's an important distinction to note that he really gets the ball away from pressure instead of just putting it back into the danger zone. I was really impressed from Ben Lundt this game, and he was called into action early. Again, he will come up big after Juarez fizzes the ball across the field. They were very good at changing their point of attack, and good drive into the box from the 18, cuts inside, and once again, Lunt comes up huge in that top corner. Finally, in the 28th minute, the ball is switched once again, and Ben Lundt comes up big. He was called into question. Honestly, I was worried that he would not perform, and he showed up big. He showed that he has not just been an understudy behind Roman Berkey. He is a true number 2. I was very impressed by Ben Lundt tonight. Jacob, will you take us through the next 30 minutes?
Yeah, an exciting 30 minutes too. In an end-to-end match, it surely didn't slow down in this middle 30. If anything, it picked up. I jump in the 31st minute. There's a huge chance for St. Louis. There's some crisp passing that starts with Edu to Hartel back out to Watts to Betcher with a cheeky return ball to Watts to put Watts 1v1 with the goalie. Watts took his run just a little bit too far in the box and gave himself a really tight angle to try to slot it home. Nonetheless, he rips a shot, goes off the keeper's chest. The shot bobbles out to Toykert. Toykert rips a shot, chest high, center net. Lo and behold, there's a Juarez defender standing right there to block it off the chest. There were shouts for a handball, but in the replay, I didn't see it.
Totally
But
clean.
that isn't even the end of this run. Ball then bounces off of the chest, finds Becker, who is dribbling at the top of the 18. He lays it off for Edu, who rips a shot that is just wide of the net. In less than 12 seconds, we had 2 for sure chances and definitely a half chance. Grayson, tell me what your feelings were while watching this run of play.
These are the kind of plays that your heart's just sitting in your throat the entire time. Like, just one after another rocket at goal, another rocket at goal. And yeah, like I definitely loved the run from Akil Watts. Definitely impressed me this game a lot to like create that attack. But yeah, just once again showing that the finishing is not there. Finishing is not there. We somehow find the center backs or the Juarez players, the opposition. We always hit them instead of the corners of the net. Fine margins, fine margins.
The margins were even finer. Jumping to the 42nd minute, Juarez is deep in our end once again. There's a cross to our back post that Yara was barely able to reach with his head, who unfortunately flicked it down to Juarez's best player, who took a touch, and then Jake Sandbag Nerwinski is immediately on the ground. Juarez rips a shot, searching for the side of the net, and our very own Canuck truck is there to block the shot out wide. Ethan, you coined the term. Tell me how it is that Hebert is able to find himself with such huge defensive moments game in and game out.
I tell you, being a defender coming off the bench, you get a lot of moments to watch the game. And as a defender, when you're in the game, you see a lot of the buildup, you're behind the ball. So I attribute it fully to his positional awareness. Since going to the Copa America, Kyle Hebert has come up huge for us. And since Tim Parker has been dealt to New England, he's only going to remain in the starting 11. I've been so impressed with him so far this season. I'm all for Kyle Hebert. Keep it up, Canuck Truck.
Right here in the middle of my 30 minutes, we have halftime, and very, very similar to our match against Dallas, we came out hot. We jumped to the 58th minute. Holy shit, guys. Edu delivers a perfect ball from a corner, front post run by Becker. All Simon has to do is redirect it in the back of the net, and that motherfucker did it. And we're up 1-0 against FC Juarez. I was going crazy watching the replay. My MVP for that goal is Marcel Hartel. He had a box out. He had O-line holding. He had one of the best picks you're ever going to see in professional sports to give that space for the ball to travel through and Simon Becker to run in front post untouched. We're up 1-0. That's the end of my 30. Grayson, take us into the final 30.
61st minute, same old story in St. Louis. We are once again found to be most vulnerable after scoring. FC Juarez attack. Sees a clearance from Akil Watts. He battles the guy he's on and clears it to the top of the box. First man to the ball. Dieter Villapando. Hartel isn't fast enough to close him down. Dieter laces it to the bottom left corner through a sea of St. Louis City players. Honestly, the only person who really reaches for it is Hebert. I'm sure everyone else is just afraid of redirecting it out of Ben Lundt's reach, but the shot was so good it just nestles just past his fingertips, bottom left corner. Couldn't get like a more perfect finish. Really unfortunate. It was just a great goal. But yeah, 63rd minute, Juarez back again. Aitor Garcia crosses it in, and Ethan called it. He was a menace this match. I couldn't really tell who heads it down in this play, but doesn't matter because Big Ben's got it locked down. He gets it. He gets low, and then he pops back up, and because it's bouncing to the top left corner, and he actually snagged it off the line. It was a really nice save. 80th minute, St. Louis is on front. Akil Watts sneaks in beyond the defense, gets on the end of a ball in over the top. Bates his defender, cuts inside. Honestly, I thought this was in. I thought this went in, and I was cheering, but it actually hit the outside netting of the near post. How are you going near post on that attack? Crazy, but it looked good. I thought Akil had it. Whatever. Diego Valoyes almost hits a worldie in the 85th minute. Just goes over the top right corner. But that's really it, guys. Final whistle blows. And in this stage of the Leagues Cup, there's no extra time. We go straight to penalties, guys. And what a dramatic set of penalties we got. I'm going to start it off. Let's set the scene. We got STL. STL's entire squad sitting on the sideline. Almost.
Entire?
Almost the entire squad. You know, we might as well mention it now. Jabulo Blanc was actually sitting on the bench, and the rest of the squad made their way to half field to, sit with your team, feel the intensity of the moment, and support your guys as they're coming up for pens. Jabulo Blanc refuses to get up and join his team on the pitch. Ethan, I know you sent a big message in the group chat about it. What did you see happen?
I had to put on my investigative detective outfit and see what happened, go play by play, frame by frame. And what I saw was the entire team lined up arm in arm, coaches and substitutes and all. And John Hackworth notices that Blom is still on the bench. He motions to him to come over. Blom doesn't seem interested. So Hackworth goes over. They have a conversation. It looks like Hackworth is almost pulling on Blom's jersey to come over. Blom nudges his hand, remains on the bench. There were some reports online that say they got into a bit of a spat on the bench. It's a little frustrating to see that there's one player not bought into the team. It's tough to speculate on exactly what happened, and I especially don't want to make Blom look bad if there's no reason to. It's disheartening to see after we've heard about potential drama in the locker room. We would hate to see this continued.
Yeah, definitely an interesting situation to paint there, but don't let it take away from these penalties. First two kickers, I'll hit you with them. So first kicker, FC Juarez starts it off. Aviles Hurtado. Nice, easy placement, bottom left corner, out of the reach of Lundt. Nothing you can do about it. That's a good pen. Next up, number 2, first kick taker for St. Louis City is Cedric Tucker, the choo-choo train. And keeper makes a great read. You can hear it in the replay if you watch it on YouTube. The keeper is screaming, "You're going left. You're going left." And gets in his head, and he called it. Tucker went left. It was a powerful shot, but placement was not nearly as good as it needs to beat a keeper like that. The keeper, I'm forgetting his name, which is bad because he is so good. Roca, right? Roca. He deserves better than that. He had such a good showing in these penalties, and he made the first save on Tucker.
Yeah, going into the second round, definitely need to get a save, definitely need to score a goal, and one of those two things took place. I didn't want to butcher any of these names, so I'm just referring to them as FC Juarez players. Call it bad journalism, call it respect for the opponent, whichever side you lean on. I don't really care. Anyways, FC Juarez player number 15 steps up. He goes bottom left. Ben Lundt also goes bottom left. He actually over dives and catches the ball right off his face. Unfortunately, it isn't out of the net and it counts as a scored goal. So now at this moment, we're down 2-1. Our second kick taker is Nofke Thorson, who, as he's walking up, would not have been my choice for kick taker number 2. I have been very, very loud this year about my disdain for Thorson's abilities on the field. And like Ethan a couple episodes ago, I would like my praise to be just as loud as my hate. And I am going to praise Thorson on this. Thorson steps up and Roca, same routine. He's talking his shit. He says, "I know which way you're going." Thorson is locked in. Ice in his veins. Steps up, buries it top corner. Fucking, oh my God, what a perfect pinpoint penalty. And then just like the boys are doing, he stares down Roca and shushes him. And I was yelling, "Talk your shit, homie. Talk your shit." He cemented a brand new fan in me. I'm Team Thorson. I'm not here for the hate on him anymore. I'm only here for the love. That's my dog, ride or die. What happened in round 3, Ethan?
Man, what the theatrics in these first 2 rounds had me riled up. I was certain that something was going to go down in this third round. FC Juarez had other ideas, though. Zaldivar steps up and smashes a penalty into the top right. The first 2, Ben Lundt did have a chance. This one, not at all. Ben Lundt even guessed the correct way, just too quality of a penalty. Now, this is where it gets really interesting because Roca's theatrics keep up. He keeps his same routine, telling the players he knows where he's going. He's in his head. He's doing his dancing on the line. Very Emmy Martinez-esque, right? Well, Marcel Hartel steps up, does his typical routine. He waits almost 10 seconds at the very end of his run-up, does his stutters, doesn't put enough power on it, and Roca makes another save, diving to Roca's right side. That puts St. Louis in a very compromising position going into this 4th round. Who wants to take it?
Grayson, I think you got it, bro.
All right. So FC Juarez has the advantage. STL's down. If they bury this, it's game. There's nothing we can do about it. So their kick taker Jaret Ortega comes up to put it away. And much like Marcel Hartel, he goes for the stutter step, slow run up to kind of mess with your keeper. And this time it actually works because he broke the rules. If you are a soccer player, you know that the run up to a PK, you can't stop. You must continue your momentum. So you can't like hesitate. You got to be smooth with it. Like you can slow your step down. You can like drastically switch your speed, but you cannot stop. I need to watch it back to be 100% certain if he stops. But either way, Ben Lundt bites, steps off his line a little early, and Ortega hits a terrible penalty straight at him.
So bad.
Goes down as a save initially, but however, they call it back for a retake, and Ortega dismisses the theatrics, no more of it, smashes it top left. Can't really do much about that. Honestly, much like kind of understood Ortega's feeling after he smashed that. Didn't really. It's kind of hard to celebrate after winning a game off of retake penalty.
Yeah.
And you fucked up the first one, so it's sad that STL loses this game. It was, like we mentioned, it is a throwaway game. We didn't need it. It would have been nice to sit top of the group. It would have been nice to take home an at-home win and continue our form. But I think it was nice to get some underdogs some minutes and let our Germans kind of grow into our style of play again. So all in all, positive things to take away.
Yeah, I think that takes us into our points. I'm going to start this one off this week with, it has to be said, Ben Lundt had himself an incredible 90 minutes. When his name was announced on the team sheet, I think like Ethan brought up, I was kind of skeptical. We've seen him have blunders of games like he did against Vancouver and last year against Colorado. He definitely hasn't felt like a true number two. It's definitely felt like Berkey's our 1, 2, and 3 goalkeeper, and then there's Ben Lundt. But he cemented himself as a true number two this game, like Ethan had said. He earned himself an 8.0 rating, and he had an STL career high of 7 saves. He came up huge with a couple very, very strong hands. Only real thing I've got to say negatively towards him is in those PKs, he looked extremely unconfident. It was a stark contrast between Roca and Lundt as who was prepared for these PKs. Now, I'm of the opinion that as soon as the news came out that Dallas had lost against FC Juarez, that Ben Lundt probably got notified, hey, you're going to be playing this weekend. So he prepared really, really well to play 90 minutes, but he did not look prepared for the PKs. He did guess right 3 out of the 4 goals. Technically, he guessed right, on that 4th one, but bullshit takes place. But he wasn't able to get the stops. I'm not sure how often they're practicing that in training. PKs are kind of tough to do at a professional level as far as practice, because yeah, it is what it is. I will say though, if he wants to really cement himself as our next goalkeeper after Berkey leaves the club, he's got to do better, especially in the PKs. I thought he had a good 90-minute showing, but if we go to PKs again in this tournament, and for some reason Ben Lundt is the one in net, I'm going to need to see more out of him if I'm going to feel confident with him going forward. But that's all I've got to say on my point. Ethan, do you have any opinions, or Grayson, any opinions, or do you want to get straight into your point?
As a former goalkeeper, I played goalkeeper from like most of middle school into a little bit of high school. But for me, penalties were never my strong suit. Of course, I'm not that big of a guy. If you know me, I'm quite small. So when it came to penalties, I didn't have that stature that Ben Lundt has, where you don't need the theatrics. You just stand in front of that goal and you cover it up, and that's enough mind games right there for me. But when it comes to when I was a high schooler, I didn't have the prep. Like I don't know where these guys usually take their PKs. Like I don't watch film like that. 2, like I'm of the opinion as a goalkeeper, you hesitate as long as you can. You read the player and you try to read where they're going and then hope for the best. Um, so as a goalkeeper, my worst nightmare on pens was guys who were just going to smash it because you can't really read that. You just got to hope for the best and try to put your body in front of it. When it comes to people who do stutter step and that sort of thing, that's who I want. That's who I want taking PKs against me. I don't care if you make me look like a fool. You're about to like put a 2 mile an hour ball at the goal. So I've got enough time to recover. So I don't know. When it comes to penalties, you always got to smash it, in my opinion. Always got to smash it. Ethan, you got anything about the PKs?
Yeah, I'll say that I was a little disheartened not to see Teutschert and Hartel find the back of the net in a penalty kick situation. It was very great to see Thoresen continue to just keep his confidence flying. It's incredible to see what confidence can do for a player. And I'm sure he has realized that his role is going to be relegated to the bench now. So for him to take that chance is great. I'm happy for him. And as far as PKs go, I think Roca just played it better. That kind of shithousery in that kind of moment is kind of what's needed. The goalkeeper has to bring some kind of charisma and personality. So I agree with you, Jacob. I do wish Ben Lundt would have looked just more confident, more sure of himself in those moments. And we lose on penalty kicks, but we advance in the tournament. So ultimately, the loss doesn't mean all that much to me. I'll be honest. But Grayson, I'd love to hear what you have what your point for this match.
Yeah, I'll get right into it. Like I said earlier, I'm going to be using this word a lot tonight. The makeshift defense impressed me. I was honestly really happy. Took a lot of positive notes watching it, but they kind of impressed me at the expense of the offense. I thought they didn't connect too well. They looked kind of disjointed. So yeah, when the lineups dropped, I was a little worried. But then once again, remembering that this game is kind of a throwaway, I was very pleased that we threw out this back line to get some of our guys that won't regularly play when we get back to regular season. They get some minutes and they stay fresh and sharp. And they had a good outing. Hebert and Yarrow, although looking a little shaky at times, were very aggressive, despite lacking the size of our usual center backs. They did decently well in the air, reining things in. They're quick to put in a foot and intervene to prevent attacks from starting, and also displaying heroics after Juarez broke in behind our lines and put in a shot on goal. This is honestly one of Josh Yara's best games, in my opinion. I felt really good about him.
Grayson, can I say real quick? I thought
Yeah,
that Josh Yarrow was so good at standing up players and keeping himself on their back, but dispossessing them of the ball without fouling them. I thought that is something, honestly, that he's done better than Tim Parker this season, and I definitely wanted to give him his flowers for doing so well in this game. I totally agree with you.
oh yeah. Like I was thinking of a specifically one play I saw that I thought kind of encapsulated his whole game. He had their striker. I'm trying to remember his name. But he was backed up on Yarrow. Someone played a through ball in, and Yarrow just jumped in front and got a foot in on the ball to clear it out. And that's just the aggression I love to see from my center backs. And at times, like we saw earlier this season with Wenzel a little bit, he would step forward, not make the tackle, and it would leave us open behind. But with the quality of Yarrow and Hebert, a lot of the times they did only commit to tackles they knew they were capable of getting to.
Didn't they
So,
also like, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they also play a very clean game as well? No yellow cards for our back line at all, which is a crazy stat for St. Louis, seeing as
Almost
we're
unheard of.
guaranteed at least one, more likely two defenders getting yellow cards.
and then, hey, that's possibly because we didn't have Tim Parker just throwing people to the ground in the match. I'm gonna miss that. I'm gonna miss that. But a little look at some stats here. So Yaro's best game in one of his best games, in my opinion. 7 clearances. His passing is one of the best I've seen him. 70 or 94%
Oh, wow.
passing on him.
Okay.
Hebert has really looked a new man since coming back from international break from Copa America. Had 8 clearances, including the goal line clearance off the head
Huge.
to save us heading into save us from to make it to PKs at least. You know, um, great high percentage distribution from him, but there is a little bit of a downside. So at times, I think our defense looked really nervous in possession, even though I feel like we can trust it. Both Hebert and Yarrow are pretty decent passers. They can move the ball pretty well. I just wish that they would have more confidence in themselves to hold on to the ball longer. There's a couple times where we see them get pressured and just force the ball up the field. And I think we can, if we train our back line to be more comfortable with the ball, we can rotate it around and give our offense a little bit more time to get our attacks flowing, more cohesive instead of just throwing everybody forward as soon as we get the ball. And it usually ended up with us losing it pretty fast. But yeah, so we ended up losing the ball in transition a little bit, which I think brings us to Ethan's point. But before we jump into that, I want to show that we might have already locked in a little bit of a key that'll help us fix that issue, which is Henry Kessler. He is a ball playing general. Like he is definitely gonna help us move the ball a little bit more. He's comfortable playing with the ball, so it'll be nice having him paired up with a Nilsson or maybe even Hebert, and have an enforcer next to a guy who can facilitate play out of the back. So what I'm hoping to see is maybe St. Louis kind of transitioning into a new possession style where we build out of the back more and just be more comfortable overall controlling the game. But Ethan, what'd you see in that transition
So
play?
just before we move into my point, Grayson, because I have one question for you relevant to
Yeah.
our makeshift defense from last night, and that is what did you make of Jake Nowinski in that back four?
Once again, I kind of saw him as a ghost. He just kind of was silent. There was a lot of times where the attacks were coming in from the right or the left side of the pitch on their side, so his right back position. And to be fair, he is going up against Aitor Garcia, very seasoned vet, who had a lot of quality on him. Statistically, he had a decent game, but just a little quiet, still looks shaky, just still not convinced.
Yeah, he hasn't passed the eye test for me in quite some time. Not saying he had a bad game. I think there are pros and cons to a quiet game in this scenario. Like he didn't
true.
necessarily be the reason we conceded a goal like he has been in the
Right.
past. And also he like didn't really have a highlight game where it was shout out Jake Nowinski for either starting an attack, making a run forward, or putting in a like crucial tackle. He was just quiet.
Sure.
Yeah, he's
I
around.
agree. It was almost a stark contrast to Akil Watts on the left side, just a almost unnoticeable game. I was just curious though. Yeah, and thank you for that amazing segue because the transitional play for St. Louis City has been, in my opinion, undisciplined, disorganized, really whatever word that you want to use in that as that adjective. Bottom line is our transitional play has not been good enough, and it's bad enough to where it's impacting us on the defensive end, and I've noticed it enough times now in the attack to where it's worth bringing up. And specifically, what I'm thinking of in the attack is just holding on to the ball for just one or two touches too long. Specifically, I'm thinking of Cedric Toikert. He had some good outlet chances against Kansas City as well as in this game against FC Juarez. And I think he's slowly learning that the defending in the MLS and Liga MX is a little better than the jokes they make over in Europe, because he's holding on just a little too long. The counterattack can end right there, and it's unfortunately led to some dangerous chances going awry. On the defensive end, it's looked just as bad. I can think of 4 specific games in which we've conceded on extremely quick counters, those being Dallas, Colorado, Vancouver, and Seattle. Our transitional defense needs to be better, whether it's both of our number 6 center defensive mids running back and tracking back, whether it's the outside backs stepping in to replace the step cover system that we have in the center back roles. I'd be interested to hear what you all would do to remedy this situation, but I'm pointing it out that our transitional play has not been good enough, more specifically on defense, but it's starting to show on the attack. Jacob, I'm curious first, how would you remedy this problem?
I do agree with you on your point. I would say, as far as like there being 3 phases of transition, we are only good in one of them, and that being what we're known for, which is stealing the ball up high and quickly transitioning into an attack up there. But all of the other thirds of the field we're lacking in, like you're talking about. How I would remedy it, it's tough because I thought for the most part, our front, what's that, our front 6, Durkin, Edu, are attacking 3 in the midfield, and Becker, like, for the most part, that's what our best starting 11 is going to look like, with maybe Zhao Klaus instead of Becker up there.
Yeah.
Or maybe an Alm instead of Indy. Right.
Maybe.
But for the most part, that's what it's going to look like. I would remedy it by letting Durkin eat again. It seems like since he's had 2 yellow card suspensions, people have tried, like the staff have tried to reel in his aggressiveness. And I think those tactical transition fouls we've been missing, either coming from Edu or Durkin. So I would just let the marathon runner eat. And when there's a transition that we're trying to defend, take him out, make it as clean as possible. But if you have to concede a yellow, you've got Edu right there who can concede a yellow. And then as far as transition going forward, I think it's just going to come with time. The more the boys play together, the more they click. I think it's going to look a lot better. We had a lot of highlights of what it could be with, better finishing in these last 2 games, and also a lot of lowlights of, yes, they have not sped up their play. So I wouldn't necessarily change anything going forward. I would just say give the boys more time. What about you, Grayson?
It's definitely a tricky one. I hope that Hackworth has a better answer than I will. But yeah, I'm really hoping that bringing in a ball playing center back will help us transition from the defense into our midfield. And then hopefully when Hartel and Leuven get more comfortable and Pouchard get more comfortable in rotating in the midfield, that'll be big. Right now we are experiencing a lot of congestion in the midfield, which I think makes our flow of possession not as flowy, So I think, Akil Watts did a great job compensating and bringing that width to the left side, but that's not a great long-term plan. Except for the fact that we do have other great offensive left backs like Jay Reed, and even Mark Hannick is definitely a better offensive
better going
wing back
forward
than
than
a defensive
defending.
wing back.
I agree.
So if we do want to explore that more, then all I'm saying is Hartel and Touchert and Leuven just need to click a little bit better in the midfield if we do want to continue with Hartel pushing in middle.
I think it adds a little more weight to how much these Leagues Cup games mean, so that the team has more side to gel together and put their best foot forward once we return to the MLS at the end of this month. But with all that being said, gentlemen, are we ready to get into Kit Clash, everybody? Ding, ding, ding.
He remembered.
The City Boys veteran. I have so many notes to not forget this week. And how could I? Because the FC Juarez kit is essentially a neon green sign saying, please rate me. Please give me
Fact.
a rating on your podcast. And so I will be more than happy to oblige and kick us off with our first rating because I am extremely low on this kit. This kit is a perfect 1 for me because I love the color green, but this obnoxious highlighter green, this neon green is not doing it for me. I've talked about it in the past, the central crest doesn't really do it for me unless it's done perfectly, and that X design in the middle reminds me of the original Xbox graphics. It's about 24 years too old for my liking. So this kid is a 1.0 for me. Who wants to take the next rating?
Depends on how you're gonna react to what I've got to say.
Let's hear it, Jacob.
Yeah, I'm on the opposite spectrum than Ethan. I actually really fuck with these kids. Been watching a lot of House of the Dragon. It just recapped season 2. And this gives me that like dragon green, that like real scaly looking. I think it goes hard. I agree the center logo doesn't do it for me. The X is kind of Xbox-y. And as a PlayStation guy, sure. If you want to talk shit on something on their jersey, I guess you can talk shit on the X. But overall, I like this kit. It's not my favorite kit. I think there are better Liga MX kits, but it does please my eyes, and I'll give it just an even 7.
Wow.
I'm with Ethan on this one. We don't need 11 green screens on the field. We've got those in the studio. Liga MX has fantastic kits. Club America always with the heat. Pumas with the heat. So
Tigres, Chivas, yeah.
like Tigres, all of them bangers. So to see something like this, just a little heartbreaking. Just a little heartbreaking. It is a highlighter. It looks like a jersey you'd get from your local sports store for your little middle school team, you know? But I mean the logo's fire. The kit doesn't do it for me. I'm gonna give it a 3. I'm gonna give it a 3.
Damn, just me glazing the opponents again.
Low.
Hey, but these kits right here, that's a
This
10.
is a 10
That's
out
a
of 10 kit right here. Grayson, I agree that their crest is kind of cool. The green and red horse is cool. And they have a unique collar on this kit, not something I've seen a lot, which is slightly redeemable. But yeah, I'm totally with you. This does not do it for me.
Yeah, yeah. So that wraps up Kit Clash. So we do have our next matchup is going to be against Portland Timbers. Will be our
Familiar
next
foe.
roundup in Leagues Cup. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about Portland? It's been a while since we've seen them.
I've got a little bit of a preview for them. Portland has won their group with still Club Leon and Colorado to play each other. I think that's happening tonight. But they won their group by a whopping 5-goal difference. So they kind of scorched through their group. Head to head, we are exactly 500 against Portland. That's all MLS play. We do see them again at the end of the month, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But we have a win, a draw, and a loss against them. Yeah, I've gotten mixed feelings about seeing them before we have to kickstart MLS play. We are all aware the Portland game is a must-win game, and they're going to see our new signings in a tournament that, like, for the most part, in the grand scheme of things, doesn't really matter unless we, like, really make a run at it and actually win.
Yeah.
I would rather not see them before we show off our new toys to play with. But then again, say we lose this game, right? we see how our new guys go up against them. We've seen how we lost to them in the past this season. We can make those corrections before a game that truly does matter.
Yep.
So it's a double-edged sword for me. I do hope we win this game. With the way they've been playing recently, I could see us going to penalties. So I'm actually going to predict a 1-1 regulation draw. And then I think Berkey shuts all the haters up in a penalty shootout. I think we don't sub out our big penalty kick takers at the end of the game. And I think we win Pens 5-4. Oh, my
Okay.
goal score. Fuck it. Edu again. I'm back on the
Okay.
Edu scoring goals train.
I like it. I like it. I kind of like how I feel about Dallas at this point. Been seeing these teams way too much, starting to know their players a little bit too much.
Yeah.
So hopefully STL will kind of like they did against Dallas. I felt like they kind of had that spark, that bite again in that match, which hopefully that's something that STL can recreate, and hopefully, you know, the tempers fly in this match, and we can use it as fuel to help us in the regular season. I'm gonna say STL goes through just barely. I want it. I don't want to go to penalties. Screw that. We're winning in regular time. We're winning 2-1. And that guy, he can't stop proving himself. Thor is gonna score again.
Wow.
This
Yeah.
guy.
I would
Yeah.
love that. That would be a dream scenario to advance. Jacob, I totally agree. It does feel like this Portland game is a proverbial fork in the road for St. Louis City. It seems like, do we want to go the path of a Leagues Cup run and try and dominate in this tournament, or do we want to bring our focus back to the MLS and the league when we get back? Because, like you said, that is a totally must-win game. Should we expect any hope of getting into the playoffs? So this matchup does mean just a little more. They also have disgusting players like Felipe Mora, Jonathan Rodriguez, Evander Ferreira. Oh gosh, I think the three players I just named make up 33 goals in their team this season. So they have been lightning in attack this season. I really hope Roman Berkey starts to quiet their very loud attack and keep the ball out of the net for a 1-0 clean sheet victory in regular time, with Simon Betcher squeaking it out again for the
Back to back.
victory in City Park to carry on his momentum. That would be a very ideal scenario. And who knows, maybe Joao Klaus will be back to cleared for the game. So very, very interesting matchup against Portland in this Leagues Cup fixture. Is there anything else that we want to say?
Yeah, I mean, kind of going off of what Grayson had said. If we, okay, number one, ideal scenario, we win, right? Number two, ideal scenario, we lose. And then we have that chip on our shoulder, and our very next game is that same team we lost to, but we now have the rest, as opposed to Portland has to go play one or a couple more games, and all we are thinking about is that loss to them. Meanwhile, they've moved on, and then next person they're going to face is STL in Portland, which I will be at that game. And I
Oh,
don't
that's so
really want to
dope.
see our playoff hopes die.
We will have, should we lose on this upcoming game, we will have 14 days of rest compared to their however many, depending on their run. So I agree, Jacob. Taking on this Portland team well rested again is a little enticing, if I'm being honest, especially given that we need a victory in the MLS to keep our hopes alive.
Also, one final thing, if we do win this game, our next opponent is Club America. Well, Club America would have to win their matchup in the round of 32, but that would be our next opponent if they won. And I think that's a
Yeah,
really tough game.
we saw them last year, and it did not go well.
Yeah. And
I want the
we're
redemption shot.
statistically not as good as we were when we faced them last year. So I don't know. I want us to win, but if we lose, we lose.
Fair. Something else I just wanted to highlight that, of course, last season, Leagues Cup was won by Inter Miami, but before that point, Liga MX teams did really take over the tournament. They were the majority winners of their groups over the MLS teams. This year, MLS teams are starting to do a lot better. Only 3 groups were topped by Liga MX teams. So I thought that was pretty nice that MLS is kind of punching above their weight this year. And yeah, so hopefully we can get another eventual MLS champion named STL. So let's hear it. Let's have it, boys.
It does speak to the quality of the league of the MLS. You know, you can't make all the jokes and it's still hard to beat the retirement league allegations. But for us to be competing against Liga MX teams, which on the world stage have historically been better than MLS sides, it does mean a lot. So I'm excited. I have my eyes on it, and I'm not sure exactly what implications the winner of this tournament may have, but I'm interested.
Buy in next year's tournament.
A lot of money.
Was that it, gentlemen? Do you want me to hit the outro?
Yeah. That's all it for me.
Got nothing else.
Outro's a little bit different.
Wait.
Oh.
We got to shout out our first ever merch giveaway winner.
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
Cole Vance. Cole Vance gets the shout out, gets the love, and I'm pretty sure he gets a hoodie.
He picked a hoodie.
He picked a hoodie.
Rocking exactly what we're all wearing right now. That's hype, man. I can't wait to see someone actually wearing our stuff. So cool.
Check out the link below.
Yep.
Check out the link below. Check out the merch. We got a bunch of new stuff: shirts, hats, hoodies. It's gonna be sweet. All proceeds go straight into this pod to help out your boys with the best St. Louis soccer podcast. So we appreciate your support. Love you guys.
Yep. Continue that support by commenting, subscribing if you're on YouTube, following and rating 5 stars if you're on Spotify. Links for the socials are in the description. Links for the merch are in the description. This has been City Boys covering St. Louis City yet again. We will see you guys next week. Peace.
STL.
Gang.